Today we're at Sky Rose Chapel at Rose Hills, and we're going to be talking to Lilian Burgess about Feng Shui and how it applies to cemeteries. So today we're going to talk with Lilian, and I'm going to ask you, Lilian, tell me about, Feng Shui and the application to cemetery development and the land form. How do we know how all this works together?
Well, for the Chinese, there's a couple of different fundamental beliefs, and that is you actually want to put your relatives, the ones that have died, in the most beneficial place. It's like buying a house. It's literally, they want the ability to see into a distance, so hills are very useful. They like having it near water, and that may be also, too, to calm the grief. So people who come to a cemetery want to be someplace where it's peaceful and tranquil and beautiful. It's also very, very important to have a lot of natural energy there. So a lot of plants would be great, trees and bushes and flowers, because that also lifts the heart and keeps people from being too grief-stricken or too unhappy. And so you want to create that for the people who come to visit. And the individual spaces are determined by someone's astrology, Chinese astrology. But in terms of basic cemetery design, in terms of creating it for an Asian population, there are some, I think, very fundamental principles that are important besides the view and the water. One is that you want to have an ability to keep families together. That's really important to them. Just as we like to keep our families in our house, sure, they want to have an area where their family can be, and it becomes their section, their area. Another thing is to protect the gravesite. So to have some kind of wall behind that area, the cemetery section, or you have plantings behind, just as you place a house where you have a mountain behind to protect against the north winds, you want to have like trees or walls to protect the gravesite. Okay. So that's really critical. You also want to be able to have what I call neighborhoods, and make sure that people aren't commingled with other people who may not be of the same province, may not be of the same social class. They really have that very distinct
so
need.
There's a little urban environment that's created.
It's like creating a little city, actually.
Sure.
So, and one of the things I think is really important too is because they so care about honoring the dead, they don't like to walk on top of gravesites, so it's really important to put pathways through to create walkways that have nothing to do with the actual gravesites themselves. So it's really a critical thing.
Now, if you were to go to a property, be it a cemetery, and that's what we're really talking about today, right. Or a residential area, or even a commercial piece, how do you set about to do an analysis of that property?
Well, the very first thing that I always do is take a look at which direction it's facing. Directions are important, and that's really to know where the sun is, and to see which side is bright and which side is dark. And then secondarily, you also want to look at, for example, in the cemeteries, or if you're building a house, you want to look and see what natural areas around, or how it's going to impact that environment. To give you an example, if you're building on a mountain, halfway up, you're going to want to see which way the snow is going to melt. You want to see if there's going to be a waterfall that's coming down, the side of the house there, or if it's going to be an avalanche, for example, if there's too much water. And you want to protect yourself. So protection, I think, is the fundamental principle. Protecting the property, protecting the people, protecting the gravesite.
The enclosure we've talked about, we have a lot of those features at Rose Hills. Yes. And tell me the importance of the enclosure, that sense there.
Well, besides being beautiful, and they are very beautiful, there is this desire to take the people, take the areas that are being developed as cemetery sections and enclose them in almost what looks like arms, so that the family is gathered up, it's like the arms of Mother Nature, so to speak, that you're protected again, but also nurtured. And so seeing walls that come in and embrace that area creates that separation between your family and someone else's family when you have a family plot. And so that becomes a really beneficial trait as well, plus more protection on the sides. And that's what Feng Shui is about, is protection. And if you really want to understand the most fundamental principles of Feng Shui, they actually involve common sense, lots and lots of common sense.
That's always been my problem.
And good aesthetics.
Yeah.
So you combine common sense and good aesthetics, you have Feng Shui, and it's a very natural thing.
Okay. Wow, this has been great, Lilian. Such an education today. That's wonderful. Thanks. So thank you for being with us today. And we're going to stop right there. And I hope this provided you some great information this morning on the elements of Feng Shui at a cemetery.